is our open forum. This is the portion of the board meeting where the board receives input from our patrons. Each person who addresses the board will have 5 minutes to speak on his or her issue. Because of posted requirements of the Open Meetings Act, board members will not ask questions of the patron nor answer any questions posed by the patron. No action can be taken on any issue presented during the patron comment section of the board meeting. Patrons addressing the board will be notified when they are approaching the last 60 seconds of their allotted time to speak. When I call your name, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Lori Hanna. Please step forward, state your name and address for the record, please. Mr. Pitts, my left, your right will be the timekeeper.
Sure. My name is Lori Hanna. I live in Waxahachie, Texas. I have a timer I was going to start to just to keep me on track, okay? I've been working in the field of vocational rehabilitation and special education for 25 years. I've been with WISD for the past 9 and currently serve as a special education teacher at DAP, working with students with at-risk behaviors. I think it should be a priority for WISD to strive for continual improvement to retain quality educators and be competitive in our recruitment and make teacher salaries a budgetary priority. It wasn't until the last board meeting that I learned the state-mandated raises would be added to our prior years of service, not our current years of service, therefore dissolving a possible step increase. In preparing for this year's budget, I'd like to know if WISD previously allocated funds for those step increases, and if so, where are those funds currently being used? If you did not allocate money for step increases, which I know are not guaranteed, then why not? I didn't just come here tonight to express concerns, but to try to provide some recommendations. Recommendation number 1, the Board of Trustees and upper administration should consider shifting the timeline of accepting teacher compensation plan to the left as much as possible. If administrative pay scales can be discussed in the spring, then so should teacher compensation plans. This helps your current employees make informed choices about whether they want to and can afford to retain their employment with WISD, as well as help recruit more competitively. Personally, I teach my students entering the world of work and my own children to make sure they know their pay before they begin their job, because it's best practice. We should be leading by example and striving for best practices in all areas. Recommendation number 2, the Board of Trustees and upper administration should consider publicly posting our complete stipend, supplemental pay, and extra duty stipend lists, including all athletics, online alongside compensation plans, like many of our neighboring districts. I'm concerned as to why our 6A district fails to post these publicly and maintain transparency. Your current employees should be informed of opportunities that are within their own district to earn additional pay. Stipends help to retain qualified employees with specialized skill sets and are a tool to help recruit competitively. Stipends also help build strong leaders from within your organizations on all levels to create campus resources and balance shared responsibilities with appropriate compensation. The board can approve additional stipends necessary to meet the needs of our growing district, which may prove to be more cost-effective than creating full-time positions or having to use outside contractors. Supplemental pay for positions at athletic events at some of our neighboring school districts is impressive. Maybe WISD offers these too, but I'm unable to find that information online. Our employees deserve to have equitable access to view and participate in all of these opportunities. Recommendation number 3, develop an effective and comprehensive improvement plan to help retain and recruit highly qualified special education teachers to reduce district expenses on outside contractors and help build your campus and district resources with specialized skill sets. Consider the following. Assess expectations of special education teachers and whether they have equitable resources, points of contact, and support for modified curriculum in relation to gen ed teachers. In all the new positions created this fiscal year, not one of them is designated to modified curriculum and instruction, to my knowledge. Assess the current stipends given to special education teachers. A few years ago, other than specialized settings, SPED stipends were reduced from $2,000 to $1,000. SLE, PBSE, life skills, they have an extremely high turnover rate in teachers and paraprofessionals despite a higher stipend, which indicates that there's a need for teachers who are well-trained in autism, behavior intervention, nonverbal communication, and assistive technology, to name a few. Consider incentivizing teachers who hold specialized skills with competitive stipends and/or use Title IX funds for campus behavior interventionists for additional support. HR and special education should collaborate
60 seconds.
and provide opportunities for educators to participate in exit interviews, including those leaving the district, transitioning from SPED to Gen Ed positions, and people who leave self-contained classrooms and take other special education positions instead, to provide constructive feedback and recommendations for improvement, including but not limited to continual professional development for teachers, paraprofessionals, and administrators. Change doesn't happen overnight, but it takes continual accountability from your stakeholders to ensure that we're putting the interests of all our students at the front of our decisions. I encourage you to embrace our growing community and tap into the wealth of knowledge and expertise equitably between employees who are Waxahachie alumni and those who are here from outside school districts to help invoke positive changes. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your commitment to the community. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is our public hearing. So tonight, we will be holding a public hearing regarding the proposed 2025-2026 WISD budget for the general fund, the debt service fund, child nutrition fund, and the 2025-2026 M&O and INS tax rates. Following the presentation, we will invite the public to approach the podium and provide input on the subject at hand. The public hearing will begin with a presentation by Chief Financial Officer Ryan Calden. Mr. Calden.
Thanks, sir. Good evening, Board and Ms. McCutcheon. As stated, we're here for a public hearing for the budget for 25-26 and tax rates. A couple of slides for you to kind of walk back through our budget development timeline. We started back in January and February identifying those needs with meeting with our campuses and department leaders. And then we started having that conversation with you. Back at the end of March on the 23rd, we had budget workshop number 1. We received our certified estimate of property values from the appraisal district right at the end of April, right around the 30th, which is that statutory requirement. June 10th, we had our second budget workshop. That was the one that we were kind of hoping we would be through the legislative session and have some good answers for you. We had some answers and a lot of questions and things that we were still waiting to be filled in from our time in Austin this past year, but that was budget workshop number 2. Then July 25th, we received our certified taxable values from the appraisal district. Again, that's that key component that drives most of our local revenues as we go through our budget process. On July 28th, we had a special called workshop meeting to discuss staff compensation plans, and that served as our budget workshop number 3. And then a couple of weeks ago, we had our regular board meeting in August on the 11th, where we again looked at overall budgets for 25-26 in our 4th budget workshop. It kind of gets us to where we are at this point. So August 12th, so right after the 11th meeting, we finalized our truth and taxation worksheets and got those posted on the website. And then on the 13th, we published notice of our public hearing and proposed tax rates so that we could have this meeting tonight. Tonight, we're at the public hearing, and then September 1st is when the budgets go into effect, and then the tax rate will be the one imposed in October. So you may remember this. We talked about it in March, and we've revisited a couple times our budget priorities for 25-26. So within Tier 1, our top 2 priorities are to grow fund balance through the use of a balanced budget, and then also a staff salary increase that was taken to mean all staff within the district to see that staff salary increase for the year. We do have Lumpkin's practice field improvement on here as a priority for Tier 1. We did not incorporate funds into the budget for next year to identify that, but it is still something that we would like to address long-term to improve that practice facility that's over at Lumpkin's that WHS football is practicing on at the moment. Talk a little bit about our enrollment updates. You know that we've talked in the past that enrollment is not our key end-all be-all. We get funded on average daily attendance, but we have to have some level of enrollment expectations to develop that average daily attendance. This year, Demographer is estimating that in 25-26, we will see total enrollment of 11,617. I will tell you right now, we are not near that number right now. As of where we were earlier today, we were just shy of 11,200. So yes, that puts a little bit of strain on the budget that we are proposing for 25-26. The number that we are enrolled at right now with 95% attendance, we will still meet our expected estimated in funding from the state for student attendance next year. So we can still reach the ADA number. That's that conservative nature that we take. When we look at the expected enrollment number, we don't budget that at 95. We discount that, and then we budget that at 95. So, but just all transparency, we are not at 11,617 today as we discuss the budget and student enrollment expectations for next year. Board, I hope you've had a chance to pick up and review your budget book. So as of the completion of the budget book, which realistically was completed with your adoption of the staff compensation plans for next year, this is kind of where we sit. General fund is looking at about a $100,000 surplus. That is, for all intents and purposes, essentially balanced as we go into the budget. That's not a huge addition to fund balance. That generally would be living within our means within the general fund with about $120,000 surplus at this point. We're looking at revenues $128.4 million and expenditures $128.3 million within the general fund. In the debt service fund, board, with your authorization, we issued $100 million more of bonds this past summer to take advantage of the hold harmless from the state as we fully anticipate an increase in the homestead exemption to go from $100,000 to $140,000. That does outlast our debt service model right now with our current debt service rate of 0.4129 per $100 in valuation. But we have about $16 million in our fund balance of just the debt service fund. That does not take into account the general fund because debt service can only be used for that outstanding debt. We can only service the debt with that debt service fund balance. So right now our projection is to use about 1.2 million of that 16 million to pay the debt for next year. We do not anticipate this to be a long-term solution. We do anticipate that we will have continued property value growth that will service the debt just fine. But for next year, we are looking at debt service revenues of $40.8 million, expenditures of $42 million, so about a $1.2 million draw on fund balance. That target fund balance within the INS fund is going to be about $7 to $9 million. So we do have a surplus right now that we're going to utilize a little bit of that to pay our debt service for the next year. And then the general fund, or child nutrition fund, we are looking at a balanced child nutrition fund at $5.9 million in both revenues and expenditures. This number, $5.9 million, is subject to some fluctuation depending on student participation. So as we have more students participate, we could see more revenues. If we have less students participate, we could see less revenues. Generally, the offset of student participation is going to be food cost. And so as we see more students participate, our food cost will be more than we initially budgeted. As we see less students participate, then that food cost conversely would go down over expectations. Looking just holistically at general fund revenues, we've always talked about our local and state revenues kind of being a teeter-totter, and one side goes up, the other side goes down. This year, with the increase in the homestead exemption, we are expecting that local revenues are going to go down in the general fund, but we're also seeing a corresponding increase in state revenues. We know that a significant amount of money was given by the state to school districts to help fund all kinds of different allotments. And so we would expect that state revenue would increase for 25-26. The corresponding decrease on that is going to be in the local revenues. Looking at property values, we have seen steady, significant increases. So the percents that you see on the screen are the percent increase from the previous freeze-adjusted taxable value, so the previous year. You'll see double-digit increases in every year as we go from 2018 to 2023. And then, as we know, the legislature in 24 increased the homestead exemption from $40,000 to $100,000, and then we anticipate that increase to go from $100,000 to $140,000 in 2025. There's a referendum election in November. We fully anticipate that to be approved as it was in 2024. So that's why you're seeing marginally smaller increases in 24 and 25. That is net of the increased homestead exemption. So these are freeze adjusted, not total taxable values or net taxable values. Looking at the M&O, so our total tax rate that we will talk about tonight is made up of two pieces. We have the M&O piece that is for maintenance and operation that handles salaries, utilities, all the operations of the school, and then we have the INS piece that is handling the debt service side. So on the M&O side, Our budgeted highlights, we are proposing a flat tax rate, no increase in that M&O tax rate of 0.7552. With that, we have the highlights of a pay increase for all staff. We've increased the starting pay from, and that is a typo, and I do apologize, board, but starting pay right now of $54,600 to go to $57,000 for teachers, librarians, counselors, nurses, and athletic trainers. A 5% pay increase for all staff that are on the auxiliary, clerical, paraprofessional, and professional pay scales, and a 3% increase for all staff on the administrative pay scale. On the interest and sinking fund, again, a flat, no increase in the INS fund tax rate, but we do anticipate that we will draw about $1.2 million from INS fund balance for the year. Our outstanding debt principal is $779 million at this point, and with the $575 million bond package that was in 2023, we have seen an increase in our outstanding debt as we have issued debt in 23, 24, and now a little bit in 25 to support those projects. We do anticipate that the INS fund will balance itself with more property value growth next year, so we do not anticipate an increase in the tax rate next year, and we do not anticipate a significant draw on fund balance in that fund for 26, 27. Overall, if you take the M&O tax rate and the INS tax rate and combine them, our total tax rate proposed is $1.1681. Again, that's unchanged from 24-25, and that's down almost 40 cents from the 2018-2019 school year. So just a 10-year rate trend to show you that tax rate and the significant decrease, primarily funded through the legislature's mandate of property tax reduction and additional funding added to schools for that purpose. With that, board, I know we have a couple of agenda items later where we will specifically look at the budget and specifically look at that tax rate, but it is a public forum, so we do invite public comments at this time.
At this time, are there any individuals that would like to speak concerning the proposed budgets and tax rates? Once, twice, 3 times. Okay, but we'll now close the public hearing portion of this meeting. Okay, our next item will be an informational report regarding the nomination process of a person to serve on the Board of Directors of the Ellis County Appraisal District. Mr. Colvin?
Thanks, sir. Board, want to highlight this for you today because it is a bit of a change, and so the timelines are going to be accelerated a little bit as we go forward. So in the past, every odd year, you would make a nominee or nominees to appoint someone to serve on the appraisal review or the Ellis County Appraisal District Board of Directors. There was a change in state law to where the number of members went from 5 to 9, and so we now have 5 that are appointed, 3 that are directly elected by the community, by the taxpayers, and then we have the county tax assessor collector that's a standing member of this committee. So members are now going from, it used to be a 2-year term, and so every odd year you would nominate more people and we would cast those ballots to appoint someone. Now it's a 4-year staggered term, and so we're kind of getting into this new routine. So you may have remembered last year that we just did this. Yes, we just did this, and we're doing it again this year so that we can get those 4-year staggered terms in place. And then every taxing entity in the county is allowed to cast votes for membership on the Appraisal District Board of Directors. So we're not at casting votes yet. Right now we need to nominate someone, and so this is where the big changes come in. So you used to have the ability to nominate, and then those nominations would be due in October, and then we would get a ballot, and then we would cast those votes. Well, the nominations are actually due October 14th, which is the date of our board meeting. So we would not get your nominations in time if we waited until October to nominate someone for the appraisal board. So we are moving it up. We will ask you, we're talking about it tonight, we will ask you at the September 8th meeting to nominate one person for potential membership on the board of directors. That is a little bit of a change. It has been in the past, kind of an unlimited number of nominations. But right now, the information that we got from the appraisal district is each entity can nominate one person for service on the appraisal board. There are 2 positions open right now for a 4-year term. And so we will make that nomination. We'll get it turned in plenty before the October 14th deadline. by Halloween, by somewhere around the 30th or 31st of October, we will get that ballot back from the appraisal district of all the nominees. At that point, board, you have 2 meetings upon which to cast your ballots or cast your votes for one of those nominees to serve on the appraisal board. So it's not 2 months. I know the deadline says December 14th. It's 2 meetings because you have more than 5% of the votes in Ellis County, more than 5% of the taxable value in Ellis County, which is how the votes are allocated for these positions. So there is a provision in state law that within 2 meetings you have to make that casting of your ballot. So it could still be December if we only have 1 meeting in November, but if we have a second meeting in November, you will have to do it in November. So just wanted to make sure that we were all clear on that timeline, that we have to nominate someone before October 14th, and we have to cast our ballots before December 14th. But because of the size of our district, it has to be at no later than the second meeting from the day we get the ballots. Generally, to talk about the board positions, open meetings are required quarterly. They do meet about 6 to 10 times a year. They meet on the second Thursday, of the month, and they meet at about 8:30 in the morning. So it is kind of an earlier meeting. It is an earlier commitment from these folks who might want to serve on the appraisal board. Members serve without compensation. If they do incur an expenditure that is budgeted by the appraisal board, they can seek reimbursement for that, and then you must attend an 8-hour training prior to serving on the appraisal board. For the nominations specific, any nominee must be a resident of Ellis County since January 1st of 2024. The actual statute says they must be a resident for 2 full years before they take their spot on the board. This board position would start 1/1 of 26, so they must have been a resident by 1/1 of 24. The kicker is anyone nominated cannot be an employee of any taxing entity in Ellis County. So it's not just our taxing entity. They cannot be an employee of any taxing entity in Ellis County. So you cannot be an employee of a taxing entity and serve on the board of directors of the appraisal district. And then some more language that will exclude somebody. Cannot be related to an appraiser of the appraisal district or a tax representative who represents a taxpayer for profit or for compensation before the appraisal district appraisal review board within the second degree of consanguinity or affinity. If whoever you would like to nominate, you might want to check and make sure they check all those boxes, but I don't have a list to help you with any of that. And then nominees cannot be delinquent in their taxes for more than 60 days. So just as a wrapper-up, board, you will have the opportunity to nominate someone at the regular September 8th board meeting. So wanted to make you aware of the process and just tell you that within the next 2 weeks, you're going to need to come up with a nominee, if you would like, to talk about at the September 8th meeting so that we can get it submitted shortly thereafter. Any questions on nominees for the appraisal review board or the appraisal district board of directors?
Any questions for Mr. Colvin?
Mr. Colton, on this, do we have access to who is interested in being on this board or anything, or do we just?
Ms. Kriegel, I wish I could help you with that. The information that I got from the appraisal district is right now the positions are Mr. Keeler and Mr. Irwin. And Mr. Irwin has expressed interest in running again, and that's all the information that I have from the appraisal district. So I would take that to believe that Mr. Keeler is not interested in running again or serving again in this capacity. But I don't have any other nominations or any other suggestions of interested people from the appraisal district at this point. When nominations are turned in, if we nominate someone, we'll need a biography of them, a short bio, so that the other taxing entities know who that person is or a little bit about them. But that's going to be our first clue, is when we get that ballot back from the appraisal district with all the bios of the other people who are nominated. That would be really our only clue as to who is interested in serving in this capacity.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Moving on to our next item will be our consent agenda. We have items A through H up for consideration. there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve agenda items A through H, consent agenda items A through H.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McCutcheon,
Second.
second by Mrs. Timmerman. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, moving on to our action item portion, will be action item A, consideration with possible approval to adopt the maintenance and operation, M&O, and interest and sinking INS tax rate for 2025.
Seems like so long ago that I had a public hearing, but it really wasn't in reality. Board, as a quick refresh reminder, we're proposing the same tax rate as what was in 2024. M&O rate of 0.7552 per $100 in valuation, and an INS rate of 0.4129 per $100 in valuation. Total rate of $1.1681 per $100 in valuation.
Entertain a motion to approve action item A as presented.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Pitts. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Timmerman. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to action item B, consideration with possible action to adopt the 2025-2026 operating budgets for the general fund, debt service fund, and child nutrition fund as presented.
Thanks, sir. Board, another quick reminder, we're looking at revenues of $128.4 in the general fund, $128.3 expenditure budget with a surplus of right at $120,000 in the general fund. Debt service, a draw of about $1.2 million on the budget with revenues of $40.8 million, expenditures of $42.0 million. And then in the child nutrition fund, a balanced presentation of revenues and expenditures of $5.9 million. Those are your beginning operating budgets for 25-26 that I ask for your approval.
Mr. Calden, do
Yes,
we
ma'am.
need to at this time approve if there's any funds that we can find for the Christmas bonus or whatever you want to call it, the bonus at the semester? Do we-
Yes, ma'am. So that's built into the budget.
Huh?
That there are funds in the budget for that purpose. Yes, ma'am. And you and I have talked previously, we will work to identify any other surplus funds that we can as we go through the fall. We will hit a lot of expenditures right at the beginning of the year, just because a lot of things are timed with a school year, our fiscal year, if you will. So if we identify those funds, then we will be able to try to increase that. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to be sure it was included.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Calden, is there any potential revenue that could come in that could help associate with that?
So realistically, sir, we did not budget paid tuition, paid pre-K tuition into next year's budget because quite honestly, I just didn't know how many would be participating in that. That could yield some additional revenue. I don't know realistically right now what that number would be.
Okay.
But yes, that could be some additional revenue. There are always some charges for services that are within the budget. Think of more athletic events are kind of the way you would think of that. So there could be some give and take on that. If we're having really good years, we could see an increase there. We are anticipating a little bit of a decrease in interest earnings. We've heard the talk, we've heard the chatter that we expect prime rate or the Treasury to cut the rates, the Fed to cut the rates on investments and borrowing. If that doesn't happen in the way that we think, or that doesn't happen as quickly as we think, there could always be some additional investment earnings that would yield a little bit more revenue that we could go from there. But the major things would be student attendance and student enrollment. We do not typically budget increases in targeted students. So when I say that, there are students that in the funding formula derive a lot of extra weight. So we do not budgeted increase in, say, pregnant students and services for pregnant students because that drives a lot of extra revenue. But if you miss it and you don't have that, you have committed yourself to some expenditures that you're not going to have the revenue for. So we are conservative as we go through and budget those. We do not budget significant increases in special education, again, because they derive additional funding. And really, any of those additional funding ones, we really hold steady with the known, what we had last year, and we don't add a lot of extra funding for those. So there are sources that we could see some additional revenues as we go through the year. Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And thank you for your work on this budget and making sure that we're passing a balanced budget. And also thank you for I had some questions for you earlier on the debt service fund for explaining that and,
Yes, sir.
and making that clear, because that was a little alarming, but you know, we can't control what happens in Austin. I wish we could, but we can't. And so I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And we do think long-term, we're making a smart play with the debt service fund by taking advantage of the hold harmless. It does create a little bit of a bubble this year as we issued some debt in advance of what we originally anticipated. But to take advantage of that hold harmless for the life of these bonds, really think that's going to be a smart long-term play. And then we should be right back in a good balanced position with additional property value growth next year.
All right, perfect. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Colvin,
Yes,
with
ma'am.
back to the pre-K tuition, is the state giving us more money for, I believe, teachers their children can go? Is
No,
that funded or is it an unfunded mandate?
That is not funded. So really, there was already a list of, I want to tell you 6, it may have been 7 criteria that get you into pre-K for free. All the state did was add one more to that, and that was pre-K eligible students of teachers. And so, no ma'am, there was no funding that came along with it. We as a district have been told that we can use our early allotment, our early education allotment, which generally we use for the full day pre-K component already, but also for literacy and math up to grades 3 to try to really help boost our literacy and math through 3rd grade. We were told we could use that allotment to cover the cost of any additional teacher-based pre-K students.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else from Mr. Calden? I'll entertain a motion to approve action item B as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Timmerman. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McCutcheon. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Say nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Board.
Moving on to action item C, consideration with possible action to name a delegate to the Texas Association of School Board TASB Board Delegation.
President Autry, it's my understanding that Trustee Kriegel is interested in serving in this role. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Trustee Timmerman is not. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to appoint Kim Kriegel as the school board delegation.
Move that we appoint Kim Kriegel as the delegate to the Texas Association of School Boards Board Delegation.
Motion by Mr. Pitts,
Second.
second by Mrs. Timmerman. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries 5-0. And our last action item will be consideration with possible action to approve policy EFB local as presented.
Good evening, Board. Ms. McCutcheon. As is our practice, we're coming before you with our second look at policy EFB local. So if you remember, this policy has to do with recent legislation that is required from us to set up a review process for library materials. There are a couple of options, and we are recommending the School Library Advisory Council. So if you remember, the SLAC, as it is often referred to, will meet a minimum of 2 times a year. It will approve or make recommendations to the board for any changes to library materials. So that would be new ones that we would potentially purchase. It could also involve the removal of some. The SLAC will have meetings just like our SHAC, our Student Health Advisory Committee. And so there will be notices and minutes and recordings of these meetings. As you can see, I did want to point out for everyone watching and for y'all for sure, that remember these changes or recommendations that the SLAC will make to y'all as a board must be available to the public 30 days prior to your potential approval. So there is a timeline of consideration. And this does apply to all library materials. Now, the creation of the SLAC is going to be covered in our administrative guidelines, and we are working through that process. But as you can see here on the left, we have the legal requirements and then what we are recommending for WISD. We're going to recommend 14 members, so that would be 2 members appointed by each school board person. Notice 8 members, at least 8, will have to be parents of WISD students, and that person cannot be a WISD employee. So the majority of this committee will need to be made up of parents of current students who are not WISD employees. Now, the board also has the option to appoint more than one person that could serve as a non-voting member. And there are criteria for those, but it is somewhat wide open. But we will certainly be giving direction to the board as we move forward, assuming approval. Does anyone have any questions about this at this point?
I assume the one or more non-voting members are those WSD staff?
They can be,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. So there is a draft of this policy in your board book, but we are requesting approval for this this evening so that we can go ahead and start with creating this council and moving forward with obtaining library materials.
Do you know how soon you would need the nominations or the appointees for that?
We would certainly hope to get them at the regular scheduled meeting or soon thereafter. So I know that we have one coming up in September. That would be ideal so that we can start moving forward. But as soon as possible, since there are some pretty strict timelines on posting and training y'all and training the members of this council.
Sorry. Are we unable to purchase any library books till we get this done?
We have put it on hold. That is correct.
So we need to hurry.
Ideally, yes. We would appreciate the expediency.
Any other questions for Mr. Cagle? Voting policy ESB local? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item D as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Timmerman,
Second.
second by Mrs. Kriegel. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say nay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
And our last item, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Kriegel. Second by Mr. McCutcheon. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.